Good morning students, I am Sujata Kumbar. Today I am going to take a class on Unit 9, that is hydrogen. So hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe and takes third position in the globe. Means hydrogen adds its own role for the synthesis of many of inorganic as well as the organic compound, and it is exist in atomic form as a hydrogen. So that is we are represented as a symbol H, and it contains one electron and one proton. So hydrogen contains one electron and one proton. And next it is also present in elemental form as a dihydrogen. So we can write it as H2. So H2 is the dihydrogen and it is the elemental form of a hydrogen. So this is the dihydrogen. So this is the great source of energy for this industrial manner as well as in nature also. So we can synthesize this dihydrogen by laboratory methods also as well as the industrial procedure methods also. We can synthesize many of the hydrate compounds as well as the organic compounds and inorganic compounds by the help of this dihydrogen form.
So we can synthesize hydrates, inorganic hydrates as well as the organic hydrates by the help of a hydrogen. So next is the question arises where we have to place hydrogen, because hydrogen is showing unique character compared to other block elements like S, P, D and F, because hydrogen has only one electron. So that is why the configuration of this hydrogen we will write it as 1s1. So hydrogen has only one electron. So that is why we can write electronic configuration of a hydrogen as a 1s1, and it is showing analogous with the helium electronic configuration 1s2 after addition of one more electron, and it is also showing analogous with the alkali metals electronic configuration. The alkali metals are having outermost electronic configurations as a ns1. So and the halogens also are also having the electronic configurations as a ns2 n5. So in this way hydrogen resembles electronic configuration with helium. It is having 1s2 configuration. After addition of one more electron, it is behaving like a noble helium gas, and after losing one more electron from the alkali metals, they are having the valence electronic configuration as a ns1, since this is showing some kind of resemblance with the alkali metals also. So after loss of one electron, the halogens will become uninegative ions. So in this way hydrogen will show similar resemblance with the helium alkali metals as well as the halogens. But after loss of electron from the hydrogen, it will become proton, because it contains only one electron and one proton. So after loss of one electron from the hydrogen, it will become proton. So that is H plus and E minus. It loses one electron, and this is considered to be proton. So this proton is having very small size, about 1.5 to 10 raised to minus 3. So because of this reason, we can say that hydrogen is not exist in a free nature. It is always present in the associated form with any other metals, like maybe alkali metals or else alkaline earth metals, and it may also make bonding with D and F block elements. So that is why hydrogen does not exist freely in nature. It is always present with the some of the combined forms. So that is nothing but it will combine with any other metals. Since because of this unique character, hydrogen will take place in the first position of the periodic table. It is not belongs to S, P and neither belongs to D and F block element because of this unique behavior. So what is that? The hydrogen after loss of one electron, it will become proton. So this proton has very small size, about 1.5 into 10 raised to minus 3. So this is small from the normal range, means 15 to 20 picometer. So it is smaller. So that is why it will not exist in a free nature, since it will take the first position in the periodic table. We will not put this hydrogen in S or a P or a D or a F log element. So since we can say that hydrogen is having unique character compared to other elements, and this hydrogen is existing elemental form as a dihydrogen. Already I said that hydrogen is existing elemental form as a dihydrogen form. So it is represented as a symbol H2. So this is called as a dihydrogen, and 70% of the universe it contains dihydrogen. In the solar system also, the Jupiter contains, as well as the Saturn also contains the dihydrogen, and most of the dihydrogen is present in the form of water and plants, animals, tissues, proteins, carbohydrates and nucleic acids.
So dihydrogen, it is exist in plants, animals, tissues, carbohydrates, nucleic acids and etc. So dihydrogen is exist in all of the nucleic acids, carbohydrates, proteins and tissues. So dihydrogen is one of the important elemental form of the hydrogen. It can be synthesis by the help of laboratory methods also, as well as commercial methods also. And this dihydrogen as a odorless as well as colorless in nature, and it is lighter than that of the air and insoluble in the water. So this is about the dihydrogen. So for your syllabus, they deleted the portion of synthesis as well as the uses of a dihydrogen. So directly I will move towards the isotopic nature of a hydrogen. So there are three isotopes are present in hydrogen. One is protium, secondly deuterium, and thirdly tritium. So these are the three isotopes of a hydrogen. So one is protium, deuterium and tritium. So protium has only one electron with one proton. The protium should has one electron with one proton. So there are no neutrons in the protium. And deuterium has one electron and one proton and one neutron. So this is the difference in between the protium and deuterium. So protium does not has the neutron here, but the deuterium has the one electron, one proton with one electron. But the tritium has one electron, one proton plus two neutrons. It has two neutrons. The protium has only electron and proton. The deuterium has electron proton with one neutron, and tritium has electron proton with two neutrons. So this is the difference between three isotopes. So protium has only one electron and one proton, and deuterium has one electron and one proton and one neutron. Tritium has one electron, one proton, two neutron. So for this invention, the scientist Hartley gets the Nobel Prize for the separation of these three isotopes. So that is why these isotopes are having similar chemical properties, but they are showing only in the difference in the rate of reaction because of the change in enthalpy as well as arrangement of neutron in the system. So these are the three isotopes of hydrogen: protium, deuterium as well as the tritium. So all are containing different kind of a neutron. Protium has no neutron, deuterium contains 1 neutron and tritium has 2 neutron. So these are the 3 isotopes of hydrogen. So next, the important compounds of hydrogens are hydrides. So whenever hydrogen combines with any other element, they should form hydrides. Almost all hydrogen is present in the combined form. So those are considered to be hydrides. We can write them as a ENH. So where E is an element and H is our hydrogen. So where N indicates the number of elements, and it is also forms bonding with some of the non-metals which are being electron deficient. So the dihydrogen, it is exist in the form of combined form. So it is usually form binary compounds. So those are named as hydrides. So hydrogen is always exist in combined form with any other element. So that is why those binary compounds are said to be hydrides here, and we can write it in general EHX, where E is another element. They may be metals or also non-metals, and these are also formed. Some of the hydrides like having general formula ENHN. For example, the boranes B6H6RLs, B2H6RLs, B6H6 minus. So anionic boranes also exist. So in this way, hydrides are the binary compounds of hydrogens. So those are said to be hydrides, and we have mainly 3 types in the hydrides. One is ionic hydrides, or these are also called as saline hydrides, and also called as salt-like hydrides. Saline or salt-like hydrides. So next one is the covalent or molecular hydrides. Covalent or molecular hydrides. And third one is the interstitial hydrides, and these are also called as non-stoichiometric hydrides and metallic hydrides. So hydrides are mainly 3 types: ionic hydrides, covalent hydrides, or interstitial hydrides. So these are classified based on the bonding structure which is exist in between the molecules. So in that, first one is ionic hydrides, or saline or salt-like hydrides. So ionic hydrides are formed with the S block elements. Whenever hydrogen combines with the S block element, we are going to get the formation of ionic hydrides here. So for example, lithium hydrides, barium hydrides, and magnesium hydrides, etc. So when these hydrides are combined with the alkali metals or else S block elements, we are going to get the formation of ionic hydrides. But the lighter ionic hydrides are showing some covalent character in that. So except lithium hydride, beryllium hydride, magnesium hydrides, all are showing the ionic bonding, but these 3 are showing the covalent character because of their lighter in nature. And we can say these ionic hydrides are volatile in nature. The ionic hydrides are volatile in nature. So volatility means easily undergo evaporation. So at a room temperature only, these hydrides should undergo volatile, means they are showing evaporation in a quicker manner. So this is the first nature, and these are having crystalline structure, means these are showing the crystalline feature. and third one is these are non-conductor in nature, means they will not conduct the electricity. So these ionic hydrates are showing volatility and crystal nature as well as non-conductivity. So these are the three important characteristics of the ionic hydrates, but the melts upon electrolysis, they should show the conductivity by liberating hydrogen at the anode. The melts, they will upon electrolysis, they should liberate the hydrogen at the anode and showing or confirms the presence of hydrogen in the ionic hydrates. So usually ionic hydrates does not show ionic conductivity, but these melts will show upon electrolysis. They should undergo electrolysis and they are showing the presence of hydrogen after liberation of hydrogen in the melt form. So this will shows the presence of hydrogen in the ionic hydrates, means in the binary compounds, and these ionic hydrates eagerly react with the water molecule, means these are reactive more with the water molecule. As a result, we are going to get the formation of many of aqueous solution with the liberation of hydrogen. So we can write the equation as sodium hydride, whenever it should reacts with water, it may be potassium also, any alkali hydrates, sodium or potassium hydride, if it is reacts with the water, it should liberate sodium hydroxide as well as the hydrogen gas. So in this way we can say that these ionic hydrates are very reactive with the water except lithium. So lithium is unreactive with the oxygen as well as the fluorine with the moderate temperature. So that is why we can able to synthesize many of the reducing agents from the lithium hydrates. So for example, so lithium hydrate, whenever it reacts with the aluminum chloride, it should form lithium aluminum hydrate with the liberation of lithium chloride. And we can also get whenever they are react with the boranes. So lithium hydrates, when they react with the boranes, we are going to get the formation of lithium borohydrates. So these are the two reducing agents which can be prepared from the ionic hydrates. So except lithium, they are almost all ionic hydrates are eagerly react with the water and they should liberate hydrogen in the form of gas. But lithium at moderate temperature, it is unreactive with the oxygen and fluorine. As a result of that, we are going to get the formation of a reducing agents here. While treating lithium hydrates with aluminum chloride, it will forms lithium aluminum hydrate with the liberation of lithium chloride, and lithium hydrate, when they react with boranes, we will get the formation of a lithium borohydrates. So this is about the ionic hydrates. So ionic hydrates are the compounds. These are formed with the binary compounds. These are formed with the hydrogen with S block elements like alkali as well as alkaline earth metals, and these are showing ionic property except lithium, beryllium and magnesium hydrates because of their lighter in nature, and they are volatile in nature, and they are possessing crystalline character, and they will not conduct the electricity, but the melts will show electricity due to the liberation of hydrogen at the anode. So this will shows the ionic character of ionic hydrates. So next is the covalent hydrates or the molecular hydrates. So these are the the dihydrogens, when they combines with the non-metal elements like p block elements, they should form covalent hydrates. For example, methane, ammonia, as well as silanes, etc. So whenever the dihydrogen forms binary compounds with the p block elements, we are going to get the formation of a covalent hydrates here, and they are showing the covalent character. So that is why the name of these molecules are covalent hydrates. These are showing the covalent character, means the bond which is present in between these compounds, it is formed by the mutual sharing of electrons in between the combining atoms. So that is why it is called as a covalent hydrates. So covalent bonding is nothing but the bond formed between the combining elements due to the mutual sharing of electrons. So that is called as a covalent bonding. So that kind of hydrates are considered to be covalent hydrates. And these covalent hydrates, again, three types. One is electron deficient covalent hydrates. First one is electron deficient covalent hydrates. Secondly, electron precise covalent hydrates, and third one is electron rich covalent hydrates. These covalent hydrates are again classified into three types depending upon their Lewis electrons in the form of electron deficient covalent hydrates, electron precise covalent hydrates, and electron rich covalent hydrates. So in that first one is the electron deficient covalent hydrates. So as the name indicates, electron deficient means the combining atom, it is in a lack of electron or it is in the need of electron. So then it is said to be electron deficient. So for example, in case of boron, diboron, B2H6, here the element is boron here, the central element is boron. So this boron has valence electron 3 and hydrogen has valence electron 1. So if we write the bond line structure of a diboron, it should be like this. So this is the geometry of a boron. But if we see the Lewis dot structure of boron, it is like this. Boron has 3 valence electron and hydrogen has 1 valence electron, and terminal hydrogens will having each 1 electron. So the terminal hydrogens will form normal bonds with the boron valence electron, and here also we should get the formation of a 2 bonds here. But when we look at the central bonds, it is in the need of electron. If it is forms bond with this hydrogen atom, and if this second boron atom forms bond with this hydrogen atom, still there is a need of electron to make a one more bond with this central hydrogen. So this atom is also needing the electron to make a bond with this central hydrogen. As a result of this, it is considered to be electron deficient because it is in the need of electron to make a perfect normal 2 center 2 electron bond. As a result of that, it is said to be electron deficient covalent hydrates, and these are behaving like a electron acceptors because they are in a greedy of electron. They are need to accept electron to complete their Lewis structure. So that is why these are said to be electron deficient covalent hydrates. So because of this acception character, these electron deficient covalent hydrates are behaving like a Lewis acids. So Lewis acids are the compounds which are showing the acception character, means they will accept the electron from other species, those are said to be Lewis acids. So since the electron deficient covalent hydrates, they will accept the electron from others, so that is why these are also behaving like a Lewis acids. So in simple we can define electron deficient covalent hydrates are the binary hydrogen compounds. They are accept the electrons, or they are in the need of electron to complete their Lewis structure, since those are considered as a electron deficient hydrates, and these are behaving like a Lewis acids because of their acception character. And next is electron precise covalent hydrates. What is that? Electron precise covalent hydrates. So these covalent hydrates are having the required electrons to complete their Lewis structure. So since these are considered as electron precise hydrates, so these are the covalent hydrates, they are having required number of valence electrons to complete their Lewis structure, since these are considered to be electron precise one. For example, in case of methane, so CH4. So if you want to write the Lewis dot structure of a methane, so carbon has 4 valence electrons and hydrogen has 1 valence electron. So each hydrogen will contribute 1 electron to complete the Lewis dot structure of a methane. So in this way the methane will has the complete Lewis dot structure. As a result, it is neither shows the acception character nor shows the donation character, because it will forms center 2 electron normal bonds with the hydrogen. So another example is selene. So silicon is the central atom here. The silicon is having 4 valence electron. It is also makes 2 center 2 electron normal bonds with the hydrogen, and it will complete its Lewis dot structure. So in this way the covalent precise compounds are having the same or a required number of electrons to complete their Lewis structure. So that is why they are not accept the electron, they will not donate the electrons also. So these are the example for electron precise covalent hydrates. And the third one is the electron rich covalent hydrates. The third one is electron rich covalent hydrates. Usually these hydrates are belongs to the group 15 to 17. These are belongs to 15 to 17, means from nitrogen, oxygen and fluorine. So nitrogen is the 15 group element, oxygen is the 16 group element and fluorine is the 17 group element. So as the name indicates, electron rich covalent hydrates are nothing but these combining elements are having the excess number of electrons. So that is why these are said to be electron rich. For example, in case of ammonia, so that is NH3. So nitrogen is making bond with 3 hydrogen atoms. So nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. If you want to write the Lewis dot structure, you have to show that. So nitrogen has 5 valence electron, and these valence electrons will combine with the valence electron of 3 hydrogen atoms. So it will complete the Lewis structure. To become a stable, each molecule should obey octant rule, doublet rule, or else a noble gas stable gas rule. So here it will obey the octant rule, means around the nitrogen we have 8 electrons, so that is why it will become stable in nature. So after forming 3 normal bonds with 3 hydrogen, still it has 2 electrons. So these are the excess electrons. So these are said to be lone pair of electrons or else non-bonding electrons. So these excess electrons which are present in the nitrogen are said to be lone pair or else a non-bonding electrons. So these electron will involve in the donation character, means it is has capacity to donate the electrons to other compound. So that is why these are said to be Lewis bases, means due to presence of excess number of electron they are showing the property of donation. Since these electron rich covalent hydrates are also called as a Lewis bases, means they are behaving like a Lewis bases. So another example is the water. So water is the most common example. So hydrogen and one more hydrogen, it has two lone pair of electrons on it. So if we write the Lewis dot structure, the oxygen has 6 valence electrons and 2 valence electrons are combined with the hydrogen, and still it showing the presence of 4 valence electron. These are called as a lone pair of electron or else a non-bonding electrons. So this lone pair is again showing the donation property, since these are considered to be Lewis bases. So again in case of HF also, means hydrogen fluoride, so this is also showing same property. It has 7 valence electron, but when it makes normal bond with hydrogen, still it is showing the presence of 3 valence electrons, means 3 pairs of valence electrons. Only 1 valence electron is used for the making bond with hydrogen here. So that is why the fluorine is showing the presence of 3 lone pairs, and oxygen is showing presence of 2 lone pairs, and nitrogen is showing the presence of 1 lone pair. So in this way, due to presence of this excess electron, they will consider as a electron rich covalent hydrates, and these electron rich covalent hydrates usually formed with the more electronegative atoms like oxygen, nitrogen and fluorine. So this type of hydrates are also called as a hydrogen bonding hydrates, means they are showing the hydrogen bond in between them, means whenever hydrogen is combined with the 2 more electron negative atoms, it will form hydrogen bond. So because of this hydrogen bond, these hydrates of oxygen, fluorine and nitrogen, they are showing higher boiling point compared to other hydrates. So these covalent hydrates of oxygen, nitrogen and fluorine are showing the higher boiling point compared to others because of the presence of a hydrogen bond in between them. So this is about the electron rich covalent hydrates. So these are the class of covalent hydrates. So in the covalent hydrates we have 3 types. One is electron deficient covalent hydrates, and electron precise hydrates, and third one is electron rich hydrates. So in case of electron deficient, they are behaving as a Lewis acids because they are in the need of electron and they will accept the electron since they are said to be electron deficient. And the electron precise hydrates are nothing but they are having the required electrons to complete their Lewis structure. For example, in case of methane or saline, we can study that. And next is the electron rich covalent hydrates. These are showing the excess number of non-bonding electrons, and these will donate the electrons to other element since they are considered to be electron rich covalent hydrates, and these are acting like a Lewis bases. So these are the 3 types of covalent hydrates. And the last hydrate is the metallic hydrate or else interstitial hydrates, and these are also called as the non-stoichiometric hydrates. So interstitial hydrates. the third one is the metallic hydrates are also interstitial hydrates. So these are also considered as the non-stoichiometric hydrates. So the metallic hydrates are the class of hydrates in which the hydrogen is combined with the D or F block elements, in which the hydrogen is combined with the D or F block elements is said to be metallic hydrates. Usually the group elements like 7, 8, 9, they will not participate in the formation of a metal hydrates, but only the sixth group elements they will form the metallic hydrates. So the example for metallic hydrates are the chromium hydrate, vanadium hydrates, nickel hydrates, etc. And if we move towards the F block, the lanthanum hydrate, the yttrium hydrate, potassium hydrate, etc. So these are the example for the metallic hydrates, and these hydrates will shows the heat conducting property as well as the electrical conductivity property. The metallic hydrates will conduct the heat as well as electricity, but when we compare the parental medias, it will be less. So these metallic hydrates in the previous days, they should imagine the hydrogen should occupy the interstitial position which is present in between the crystal lattice. So that is why the name is interstitial hydrates. In the previous days, they should thought that the hydrogen should occupy the interstitial position present in between the crystal lattice. So that is why those are called as interstitial hydrates. But the recent studies show that the nickel, palladium, platinum and actinium lattice structures, it is different from that of the parental structure. Means the nickel hydrates, palladium, platinum and actinium hydrates are showing the different crystal lattice structure from the parental one. So that is why nowadays simply we can call them as a metallic hydrates rather than that of calling interstitial one. And these are showing the one of the important property, means in this hydrogen absorption phenomena. So metallic hydrates are showing the hydrogen absorption phenomena on transition metal. As a result of this, we can use these hydrates in the catalytical reactions like hydrogenation reaction. Catalytical reactions like hydrogenation reaction as well as in the reduction reaction. So due to showing hydrogen absorption, we can use it in the catalytical synthesis of hydrogen as well as the reduction process. And some of the metal will store the hydrogen in the form of a media. So that is why it is showing high potential energy for the storage of hydrogen. So this is about the metallic hydrates. So metallic hydrates are formed with the D and F block elements, and these are also called as interstitial because in old days the hydrogen should occupy in the interstitial position, but earlier so in recent studies they will show the non-occupation of hydrogen at the interstitial site. For example, in case of nickel, palladium, platinum and actinium complexes, and it is also showing heat conducting property as well as electrical conductivity property, and it is also showing the hydrogen absorption phenomenon. So this is about the metallic hydrates. So these are the three classes of hydrates. So first one is ionic or saline or salt-like hydrates, and second one is covalent hydrates, and third one is metallic hydrates. So you can simply remember ionic, covalent, metallic. So ionic hydrates are forming bonding with alkali metals, covalents are forming bonding with p block elements, and metallic hydrates are forming by bonding with D and F block elements. So in this way you can remember simply. So this is about the hydrogen as well as the hydrates of the hydrogen. So this is about the hydrogen as well as the binary compounds of hydrogen. So in next class we discuss about the the water. So further discussions will be continued in the next session. Thank you all.